Hey everyone, today we're jumping into something that's a pretty huge deal in the Angular world, signals. And trust me, this isn't just another small feature update. We're talking about a fundamental shift, a whole new way to think about building fast, reactive apps.
So, here's what we've got on deck. First, we'll tackle the why, the big problem that led to signals. Then we'll look at the solution, see it in action with a cool demo, break down the key pieces like signal, computed, and effect, and wrap up by looking at what this all means for the future of Angular.
All right, let's just get right to it. I bet every single one of us has asked this question at some point. Why? Why is my Angular app feeling so sluggish? It's super frustrating, right? And you know what? A lot of the time, the culprit is hiding in plain sight, deep inside one of Angular's core mechanisms, change detection. So let's dig into that change detection problem. For a long time, RxJS has been our best friend for managing state. It's powerful, no doubt, but there's a catch. Sometimes it can be a little too talkative for Angular's liking.
Here's the deal. When you use something common, like a behavior subject from RxJS, every time it spits out a new value, it basically screams at the entire Angular application, "Hey, something changed! Everyone, wake up and check yourselves!" This forces Angular to do a full-blown check on, well, everything, even on components that have absolutely nothing to do with the change. Talk about wasted effort, right?
And that exact problem is why Angular signals were created. The Angular team basically said, okay, we need a better way. They built signals to bring like surgical precision to this whole reactivity thing.
This quote really nails it. Instead of that big, loud announcement we talked about, signals are more like a quiet whisper. They go directly to the one or two parts of your UI that actually need to know about the new data and say, hey, just you need to update. It's all about being targeted, focused, and super efficient. Okay, theory is great, but seeing is believing. So let's check out a demo that shows this in action. I promise you, this is going to be that aha moment where it all just clicks.
So if you just glance at the code, it doesn't look that different, does it? On one side, you've got your classic RxJS service with a behavior subject. On the other, the new signals approach with a signal function. Yeah, the signals code is a little cleaner, maybe a bit more straightforward, but the real magic isn't what you see here. It's what's happening behind the scenes.
And bam, here are the results. In this little test, data was updated once a second for 10 seconds. The RxJS version, it triggered a full change detection cycle every single time, 10 cycles. And the signals version, only 5. That is a huge difference.
Let's just put that in perspective. That is a 50% reduction in the amount of work Angular had to do, right out of the gate, just by swapping out one pattern for another. This is that performance gain we were talking about, and you can see it right there in the numbers.
Okay, so you're probably wondering, how does it actually do that? Let's peel back the layers and look at the most fundamental piece of this whole puzzle, the signal function itself.
You know, at its core, a signal is surprisingly simple. Just think of it as a little box, and inside that box, you put a value. But here's the clever part. This box is smart. It knows exactly who is interested in the value it's holding, and when that value changes, it pokes only those interested parties. I love this analogy. A signal is just like the battery indicator on your phone. Think about it. You're not sitting there tapping your phone every 2 seconds going, what's the battery at? What about now? Is it 75% yet? No, of course not. The icon just updates itself whenever the battery level actually changes. It's that same simple, efficient, one-way street for information.
Okay, so a single signal is pretty cool, but the real power, the real magic, happens when you start combining them. And for that, we have two other main tools in our toolbox, computed and effect.
So let's talk computed. A computed signal is reactive. It listens to other signals. Imagine you have a signal that holds a list of all your users. Now, you create a computed signal to count just the admins. Whenever that main user list changes, your computed signal automatically reruns its logic. But, and this is the killer feature, it caches the result. If you ask for the admin count again and the user list hasn't changed, it doesn't do the work again. It just gives you the cached value. Super efficient.
Another great analogy for this is to think of computed as a really smart but kind of lazy assistant. It keeps an eye on all your source signals, but it absolutely refuses to do any work unless one of its inputs actually changes. It's laziness as a feature, and it's brilliant.
Okay, so that's computed. Now, effect is a totally different beast. You don't use it to create new values. You use it to run side effects, to interact with the outside world. It's like a vigilant guardian that's always watching your signals. And the moment one of them changes, it springs into action and does something, like logging a message, saving data to local storage, or firing off an API call.
So that's the key thing to remember. Effects are your bridge. They connect the nice, clean, reactive world of signals to the messy, imperative outside world of API calls, DOM manipulation, all that stuff.
But, and this is a big but, you have to be really careful with effects. There's one golden rule. Say it with me. Never modify a signal from inside an effect. Seriously. If you do, you're setting yourself up for an infinite loop, and that's a bad day. Also, a quick pro tip. If you're doing something long-running inside an effect like a timer, make sure you use the onCleanup function. It'll save you from some nasty memory leaks.
All right, let's pull back and look at the big picture here. We've covered the what and the how. But what's the so what? What does this really mean for the future of Angular and for you and me writing code every day?
Well, the benefits are pretty massive. We're talking better performance right out of the box. A much simpler way to think about how data flows through your app. We finally get that true, fine-grained change detection we've wanted. And this is the big one. It opens the door to a future where Zone.js might become optional. And hey, it's not about signals versus RxJS. They're designed to play nicely together.
And that really brings us to the final big question. With signals giving Angular the superpower to know exactly when and where to make updates, the future looks faster, simpler, and way more efficient. So the real conversation isn't just about picking signals or RxJS anymore. It's about what this whole new era of reactivity means for the very soul of the Angular framework itself. Pretty exciting stuff to think about.